This is Jonathan Small starting a new program. It's going to be called The Small Report. It's going to be filmed and taped in the capital city of Hartford. This is a new program that's going to deal with reporting different issues involving Hartford and its importance to the world. It's a new, unique reporting program that I'm going to bring some of my personal experience. I'm going to bring many different levels of issues that I feel is relevant towards Hartford. We are the capital city. I was born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut, lived here my entire life. I think the city is very important in many different levels. And I think the Small Report, although it's nothing small about the Small Report, it is a major issue when you start to look at reporting different issues that we're going to have to deal with time to time. I may have special guests every now and then to interview people and bring that format into the Small Report. This program will be able to go online, YouTube, accesstv.org, possibility even Hartford Public Access Television. And I think it's going to be a very interesting format in many different ways. We are a capital city. We are a city that's in between two major cities in the United States, Boston and New York. We're exactly the halfway point between those two cities. And many people might look at Hartford or may not be totally aware of Hartford, and because you are centered between two major cities, New York or Boston. So where does Hartford fit into that geographical level other than being in the halfway point of two major cities? The history of Hartford, in the turn of the 19th century, we were the richest city per capita. We had a lot of prosperity. We had a lot of industries, Colt Manufacturing, Pratt and Whitney, Royal Typewriter. I mean, we made just about everything in Hartford. And we still are considered the insurance capital of the world, but we have a lot of challenges and a lot of different issues that many people from the outside might not be totally aware of. Many people from the inside may not be aware of the unique history and the culture that this city has. It has a very large Caribbean, West Indian population base, a very large Latin American or Hispanic population base. We have a very large African American population base. We have a lot of people coming back into our downtown areas trying to diversify our city beyond just the norm. We have our governor, Dan Malloy, who has moved into Hartford. Basically, he is from Stamford, and the governor now resides in Hartford. And many people may not be aware that this city has a lot of political clout. We have a lot of times had to go to the state requesting state aid for different issues, different problems, the school systems. In the past, we had to turn to the state. We've never really technically fell into the category of bankruptcy. Many people may feel we could be headed in that area, but we're trying our best not to fall into that particular category. Our city has moved very similar to many other cities throughout the country. You know, we have an urban setting. We have a strong downtown structure, although it may have a lot of vacancy issues and some challenging issues. But overall, we're still the capital city. We still have a downtown structure that's, trying to rebuild itself from where it used to be. From 1950, you might get a better barometer where the city was at. We had a very thriving downtown base. We were the envy of many downtowns throughout the state. Many people from as far as actually Stamford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Springfield, Mass. would come to downtown Hartford. We had everything basically in the city. We had entertainment. We had a lot of shows. We had culture. We had so many things to do in this city. Basically, the downtown, we had major department stores, G. Fox, Sage Allen, that was marketable and thriving, and to some degree was the envy of many other cities in our state. And things have changed. We don't have those same type of draws that we used to have, but we're trying to bring some of those elements back in many different ways. We have Capital Community College that's located in downtown. We have some development proposals of trying to bring entertainment in certain areas of downtown, but we still have a long way to go to bring our city back to where it needs to be at. So I just want to give you a quick introduction of basically the base of what I think this program is going to be targeted towards and what it's going to be about. I'm going to try every now and then, as I mentioned, to bring in some special interview segments, some special people that I think you might find very interesting. I think the report that I want to target is involving the small report, because that's basically, my name is Small, and I'm not considered small. The small report, in my opinion, again, is not going to be considered a small issue. Hartford, from a day-to-day basis, has a lot of media formats that you can hear, a lot of different talk formats on different levels of radio, television. We have a lot of people who try to utilize the capital city towards many different levels of advantages. We have a long issue of the Chef O'Neill that I believe started it back in the late 80s, actually when I was in high school. And the Chef O'Neill case is kind of very disturbing because it's about trying to get a real equal level of education. The so-called magnet schools that we tried to implement to feel that we could correct the problem and not try to really make our public school system towards the level where it really needs to be at is a tremendous challenge. Like I keep mentioning, we have a lot of challenges and a lot of different issues that we're trying to develop our city into. When you go throughout the country, you'll find that most cities are very similar to what Hartford has. Your school systems has, a different level in the inner cities comparable to the suburbs. We are outside some real thriving towns. Windsor is a very prosperous, flourishing town right outside the city. We have a town called Bloomfield, which really has a lot of growth, a lot of land space, and the proximity right to Hartford is real accessible. We have West Hartford, which has the so-called Blue-Black Square, which is a real thriving entertainment district. So Hartford is really in a key geographical area to market itself. We have time to time thought about possibly regionalizing our city, and that doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. Excuse me. Basically, we went from about 10 years ago to the strong mayoral form of government, and we've had 2 mayors since that change of the charter has taken place. Mixed levels of reviews on how the charter reform has gone, but it's here. We're going to work with it. We're going to try to make the best of it, and I think it's the best system to have one person held accountable towards many different issues that needs to be looked at. This is not going to be a call-in program, so basically you're just going to hear me giving a full report on what I feel is very important towards Hartford. I will bring in issues at time to time throughout the state, throughout the region, throughout the country. Again, as I mentioned, we have a very large Caribbean population base. We have a very large Hispanic population base. So that does give us some sense of an international level of importance. But I'm going to try to always keep everything centered into where we are at right here in the downtown taping of this program. The challenges is how do we go from where we used to be to where we are today to where we really need to be and where we could be and where we should be. A lot of people feel that it's a lost cause. We've had our best years behind us. You don't really need the city. You can move outside the city, get the benefits of a good quality of life, and you could come into the city and basically get whatever you feel you need. And I think that's the realistic point of where Hartford is at. And I think many urban cities in particular is at that same level. But I think if you allow your city not to really be what it can be, it eventually will bring down some of the surrounding towns outside of the city. So that gets into the point, should Hartford become a regionalized city and just try to make everything basically in one form of a county form of our government? That's going to have to be obviously done on a statewide level if that's ever going to change, which a lot of people outside the city don't really want that to happen. On a day-to-day basis, we have a very nice summertime. I think our weather pattern here is fairly good. We don't have too many major storms. We don't have a real hot climate. It can be hot at times. It can be a little humid at times, but we're not really a very hot, humid place throughout the summer. We have certain spurts where we get extremely hot, and then we all of a sudden cool down. Our winters here are pretty much about average. We can have some blizzards, we can have some major snow patterns, but overall we're just a normal December to March kind of winter pattern that we have, a normal base of a cold climate, but certainly not one of the coldest climates in the world. So I think we are in a very good, unique position that I think a lot of people should look at Hartford. You know, when you're coming into the East Coast and your first thought is New York City, and then your second thought is getting to Boston, why not look at Hartford? Hartford has a very small base, you know, not a large base, but it's very easy to function to get from point A to point B. You don't have a lot of gridlock in the city. You have, I think, a lot less crime than you have in New York and Boston. You don't have probably the entertainment draw that those two cities have, but you have a certain level of things that people might feel a little bit more comfortable in a smaller city like Hartford. So I think that is something we need to market a little bit more than what we have done in the past. The day-to-day issues of the political scene is a tremendous challenge to try to get the real political clout that I think all residents should be striving for. Not be satisfied with just being a resident and going along with the everyday routine. And I think if you look at most cities throughout the state and throughout the country, particularly urban cities, they'll probably fall into the same particular category. So giving a base report on issues just this past week that we have had, pretty much a quiet week involving public safety. Just a few incidents of some crime that has taken place, but I don't think anything of any homicide levels this past week. We have some businesses that we are trying to market in our city. I mean, we have a lot of different political strategies on a day-to-day basis that we try to get developed. I'm not directly in the political scene. I mean, I've helped a few people who was running for office. I was part of Governor Dan Malloy's campaign in 2010 when he ran for mayor. I was somewhat part of candidate J. Stan McCauley when he was running for mayor last 2011. So I do have a little bit of a political experience, but I'm not really a direct elected official and somebody that's in a day-to-day political level of expertise. But I have a lot of information that I could get through different sources to let people know exactly what's going on a political level. People seems to be enjoying themselves over the past couple of days. A lot of outdoor activity. We have a big Independence Day that's coming up tomorrow, and a lot of people are going to be going to the beaches, going to the parks. It used to be a time when our parks were, again, a very thriving level of entertainment. I mean, people would be flocked towards our parks on an everyday basis. There's some challenges that exist in our local parks that we have to try to really develop it beyond what it exists today. We have the Bushnell, which is right in the backyard of where we're taping this program. A lot of people enjoy going to the Bushnell. A lot of people work downtown, so they in walking proximity of going right into the Bushnell. And our local parks, basically on the edge of the downtown districts, a lot of people still enjoy going to the parks, even though they have some issues that needs to be rebuilt. It's very visible. If you drive through Keeney Park, you drive through Colt Park, you drive through Elizabeth Park. I think it's a few other parks I can't mention or remember offhand. Goodwin Park. We had an incident this past week where some people felt the need to steal a car, crash into Goodwin Pool Park, and basically kind of damaged the swimming pool for this past week. And those are things that I think we still got to tighten up on the belt to make sure that we have the public safety levels at all times, because the youth needs to be enjoying, particularly being out of school right now, to be outside and have access to the swimming pools and to enjoy the water. And when you have incidents like that, it just gives these youths, the youth, a real disappointment, because they enjoy going to the swimming pools. We don't have the luxury of every youth having the ability to go anywhere throughout the state and go to any particular beach. So they really rely on the type of services that we have here. I talk to people in other parts of the region, and they don't really give me much feedback on any difference comparable to where they're at to where we are at as a city. So it seems to be the same common issues I find in different areas of Boston. I have some family and friends in that area. I have a few friends I just ran into not too long ago that's in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bigger city, but pretty much a very similar pattern on how things go. We have a large grassroots effort of the clergy that exists in Hartford. Hartford is known for having a lot of different churches. Main Street probably has maybe 15 churches if you go from the borderline of one section to the borderline of another section of that particular street. So the churches are a very visible structural asset in our city. And on any given Sunday, you can see a lot of different congregations packed, worshiping. And that's a good sign. I mean, to see people out there worshiping, going to church, giving that one day. And the churches are, busy throughout the week too. But I mean, particularly on a Sunday, it can be very, very busy in many of your different churches that you have here. In a few weeks, we will be having the annual West Indian Day parade. For a long time, that parade was geared mostly in the North Main Street area. Just since last year, it's been moved now from the starting point in one level of Main Street, but now exiting towards your downtown area. Probably be very similar to other parades that you have on the West Indian level, from parades that you have in Brooklyn, parades that you have in Boston. You have a big West Indian Carnival Caribbean parade in Toronto, London. It's on a smaller version, but it's the same base that you have. Jamaica and Trinidad has a very large population base here, and they are both celebrating their 50-year anniversary of independence. So the report that I want to give where we are at today, again, is we're trying to move into the second half of the year. We have a couple of elections, particularly the senatorial election that's on a statewide level. Then we have the presidential election. I don't know how people view Connecticut on a national level of political importance when you have a presidential election, but I think it is still going to be an important base. We are a heavily Democratic state here in Connecticut. We're considered a blue state, a liberal state, and there's a lot of challenges that people on the conservative level look at comparable to the liberals who they think is running our state, and they may be dissatisfied. But I think Connecticut, if you look at the base history from 1950 to 1990, we were one of the most prosperous states in the nation. We've had some real tremendous challenges over the past 20 plus years of losing population growth. But I think, again, having a small state still gives you some key advantages and some advantages that you can market and strategize a lot different than larger states. If you ask me personally, I feel comfortable in a small state because I think it's a lot easier to get things done, and the population gridlock. I mean, if you come into Connecticut and you enter Bradley International Airport, you can get pretty much anywhere throughout the state in a very short period of time. We don't have a heavy gridlock from Bradley International Airport coming into the capital city and other parts of the state. So that's a tremendous advantage if you ever are visiting Connecticut and you want to come into our state and you want to find what it's like to get from point A to point B. The report I'm going to try to find on a daily basis to bring up just a round view of issues that is happening from a day-to-day level. It's not going to be as long as this segment because this is the first program. I want to get everything pretty much started and give you a real vast introduction on where I would like to give you this type of reportable information on a day-to-day basis. But today I want to give it on a little bit extended version. We have a lot of development that's going on infrastructure-wise. The Clean Water Project, which has gotten started 5 years ago in 2007. Basically, the Metropolitan District Commission, which is a water and sewer agency, basically has a major contract in that clean water project. And it's a very huge project. I mean, everywhere you go, you see a lot of road work, a lot of infrastructure work that's taking place. A lot of people are looking at this area. I've seen people from all over the country come into this area, benefit from this major project. There's some issues that people find very concernable, that many people are not really getting the fair share of this major, I believe it's a $2 billion project over a course of time, that they feel that it wasn't really strategized in a proper format to make sure that, people particularly who live in the city, who, work and want to work in the city, would have a better shot of really getting access to the contracts, to the day-to-day work that exists in the city. I mean, there's so much work that you see if you just drive through our city, so much development on that level alone. And in the past, we've had other major development projects, the Adrian Landon downtown development project. We had a big proposal one time to try to get the New England Patriots, a professional football team, to come into Hartford, and that deal was not able to go forward for a few different reasons. And basically, we've tried to market sports on a smaller level. We have the UConn women's basketball team that's had several national championships to go along with the men. We used to have the Hartford Whalers hockey team, which we lost in 1997. And some people claim that somewhere along the line, we need to try to bring back another professional hockey team. Hockey is one of the actually four major sports that you have in the country. So we had the Hartford Whalers, which we don't have anymore. Somewhat, I guess, of a semi-pro team. The Whale plays downtown, and maybe, you know, we might try in the near future to try to eventually get another hockey team back into the city. Basketball, we never really thought too much of trying to get a professional basketball team here because we're so close to the, you know, the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks. Many people, I don't know for sure if the NBA kind of restricts having a team within a certain mileage range or ratage of another city. So sports is something that you can still come here and enjoy. You won't find, again, a major professional team, but you have a semi-pro hockey team. You have the UConn women's and men's college basketball team that plays here. And we also have a Division I UConn football team that eventually moved into Rensselaer Field, which is in East Hartford, which is right outside of Hartford. And they seem to be having a lot of growth over the past 5 years, I believe, since they moved to the Division I level. Trying to remember the exact year that they actually came to play at Rensselaer Field. But if you come into Hartford and you, between the September and December time of the year, you can always find a need to go watch a Division I professional football team. So people say there's not much really here to do. Sometimes you just got to open up your eyes, be a little creative, and you might find more things here than you might not think you would find. So the best approach is just to come into the city, see what it's about for yourself. Try to figure out if you like what you see or you feel other things needs to be added, and try to work with certain entertainment districts, certain economic development level committees, and you know, the input could be very helpful. So I'm enjoying doing this report. Again, we're going to try in the very near future to get a day-to-day format. We'll get the scheduling and everything arranged in the very near future. You can again go online, YouTube, accesstv.org. My email address is jonathansmall@gmail.com, but you spell it JONATHAN, and actually you put J behind the Jonathan and then small@gmail.com. And hopefully I'll have a lot more information to provide beyond what I was able to do today. But again, this was just an introduction of a little bit of what I would like to gear the information towards. And I'm not going to really bring up too much about me. As I mentioned, I am a lifelong resident of the city. Not many people can say they was born and raised and lived in the entire city their entire life. And actually the entire street my entire life, which is in the north end of Hartford. You know, very close to the downtown area, very close to the Windsor district area. You know, many times in the past I felt like going other places, see what other places are like. And, you know, basically, for some reason, God has just kept me right here in Hartford. You know, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just was going to go with it into whatever changes come along down the line. I really love the region of this area, and I think it's a very unique area, a little bit different than your bigger cities. But I think, again, I want to see things improve in many different areas beyond what it exists today. I don't like some of the things that I see. I don't want to get into just talking about problems and then not being able to fix the problems, because that's not going to do anybody any good. But I want people to be aware that all cities really needs a rebirth, and it really needs to be brought back to a different level. I mean, if you don't feel it needs to be brought back to what it used to be, that's fine. But the issues of public safety, the public educational systems, the overall quality of life, the high taxes, the high insurances. Our cities just have to do, I think, a better job to make it more attractive for all people to want to reside in your city. And basically, on a day-to-day basis, you could always find a lot of problems that you can talk about, but very few people have the solutions towards those problems. And I just don't want to get caught up into identifying many of your problems without having something in the process to fix the problem. And again, that's the real key point of a report. I'm not going to be talking about just everyday issues without something that's designed to go from where the issue is to where the next solution is going to be. A report, the small report, is going to be from my perspective. I'm going to try to be open-minded and try to be unique in how I go about it. And I think if people find that you have any different levels of information you would like this small report to be, always feel free to email me, and I'm willing to look at your different suggestions and questions and comments. So basically, until the next time we meet, which is going to be very soon, and I'll have all of the scheduling and information in line to do the small report. It's, again, not going to be as long as this one was today, but it's going to be a little bit more direct, exactly what the issues I want to have reported, and it's going to be very, broad range to go along with it. And I think you're going to find, again, the small report is going to be a very good reportable program to do and to be witnessed online. And that's the key in today's technology era, is to be able to have access to information at the drop of a dime. And through having YouTube and accesstv.org and other internet sources, you will be able to get this information on a day-to-day basis. So again, until the next time that you hear from Jonathan Small on the Small Report, have a very good day. Thank you.